next 28 minutes, my goal is to present a compelling argument that the greatest effect on an agent when it comes to revenue share will be made on agents who close between 5 and 15 transactions a year. My name is Joe Herrera. If you have not been on a call or a podcast with me in the past, agent in Las Vegas, we converted a real estate brokerage over to Real Broker about 3 years ago. I did get a text message, and I just want to share that with you guys. I got a text message from a good friend of mine. I'm actually going to post it on social. He does a decent amount of business, but here's the message, and I'll just read it. By the way, love Real. Our stock is worth over $1 million with 120 to 150,000 put in, plus a good amount of revenue share yearly. Best decision we've ever made. I don't know why every agent isn't at Real. Thought that was a super cool text to get today. Now, full disclosure, he is a team leader. He's got agents. He's invested some of his own money. When I came over to Real, the misnomer I had was that guys that run teams and agents that run teams like myself, people that have national reputations, are going to absolutely benefit from the revenue share plan, but that the average agent may not receive as much benefit. Well, what I would like to talk about today is the effect that revenue share can have on an agent's life and why agents closing 5, 10, 15 deals a year will see the greatest impact on their finances. So before I get into that, let me just paint a picture of what the life of a 10 transaction per year agent looks like, because I think that that part of it is super important to just lay a base foundation of what the impact could potentially look like. So I'm going to take a couple of assumptions in which I will say an agent either has about a 40% cost of doing business, or they have a split and or weighted split that is about 40% of their gross commission. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're on a real estate team, like if you're on my real estate team, you have two options for compensation. If we bring the deal to the table, meaning we give you a real estate lead, you're going to get a 50-50 split on that. And then we, out of our 50%, shoulder the 38% cost of doing business. So our net profitability on a lead conversion is about 12%. 38% goes to the cost of doing business, and the agent pockets 50% of the commission. If they bring the deal to the table, they get 80%. The 38% comes off of the 20%, which you're right, doesn't pencil. We technically, as team leaders, lose money every time an agent closes one of their sphere of influence deals. It's the cost of doing business. Now, if you're an independent agent, if you're like, I would never want to be on a split, then you shoulder all of the cost of doing business. And on a national average, the cost of you doing your business is about 38%. So while you think you're a 100% agent, the reality is you're probably a 62% agent, because somebody has to pay for leads. Somebody has to pay for technology. Somebody has to pay for client appreciation gifts. Somebody has to pay for, all of your cost of doing business. So if we accept that as our platform, then we would say 10 transactions per year at an average gross commission is of $10,000 is $100,000 in GCI. Now, GCI is one of the least integrity-based numbers that we ever talk about in real estate. So if you notice Real Trends or big team leaders, they will talk about their GCI of their business, their GCI of their team. So they'll say, my team did $2 million in GCI. So it sounds like a really big number. Now, an agent that closes 10 transactions, either on a team or running their own business, will say, I do about 100,000 in GCI a year. I'm here to tell you that GCI equals bullcrap. Like it really does. If anyone's ran a team, been on a team, whatever, you'll know that the gross commission is to some degree a starting point and an irrelevant number when it comes to the ability you have to feed your family. So let's talk for a second about the number that really matters, which is your net commission income. So let me share this with you really quick. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right, Nestor, you can see my screen? Okay, cool. So GCI versus NCI is a really important metric for you to measure, which is your gross commission minus your split minus your cost equals your net commission. So you could say minus your split or your cost. To say that a team member has zero cost is probably not accurate. They've got gas, they've got association fees, things like that. But you could say, for example, a $10,000 gross commission minus 50% if it was given to you by your team leader. Our agents on our team will come really, really close to about a $5,000 check on a $10,000 gross commission. Or in other words, they will end up with their net commission income, the number that really matters, of about $5,000 per deal. If it's a $15,000 commission, that number gets to about $7,500. You guys can kind of follow me here. Now, if you're a solo agent and you close a $10,000 commission, your accountant will tell you, and you will tell Uncle Sam, that you have about a 38% cost of doing business. So gross commission of $10,000 minus 38% will leave you with about a $6,200 net commission. Now, that's not taking into account completely the cost of lead acquisition, because I'll tell you on a Zillow transaction, I think I have some of those numbers in here. So a Zillow cost of acquisition, Zillow's conversion rate is about 3%. Then your split and all those things. So if you say it cost $400 to buy a Zillow lead, so if I say $400 per lead divided by 0.03, my cost per closed transaction, if I'm paying $400 per lead and I'm closing 3% of the leads I'm given from Zillow, my cost per closing is about $13,000. That's closing 3% at a $400 cost. So I know I'm throwing a lot of math at you guys, but I want to lay the foundation to say, if somebody is closing 10 transactions a year, and we assume that that somebody is getting in between 50 and 62% of net commission, 10 transactions would be 100,000, 50% recapture or net commission would be 50,000 a year. 62% would be $6,200. So then let's talk about Real's revenue share program and what I love so much about it. So let me pull up this graphic really quick because I just had it. All right. For those of you unfamiliar, or those of you somewhat familiar with Real's revenue share program, Jane, you can see my screen here? Okay, perfect. Let me just skip forward to this metric right here. Skipping quite a bit. Rev share, here we go. So Real's revenue share plan is very, very simple. It basically, when you ask Tamir if Real is an MLM, he will say, absolutely not. He'll say, the way I want you to think about revenue share, Joe, is that Real could, if they wanted to, because their focus is on acquiring great agents, they could run Facebook ads and they could, rent hot air balloons, and they could give us all blue jackets instead of gold jackets like Century 21. My Century 21 friends don't wear their gold jackets. If I was a Century 21, I'd wear that freaking thing everywhere I went. He's like, listen, rather than jackets and hot air balloons and Facebook ads and Google ads to acquire agents, what if Nestor and Michelle become our advertising engine? And if we then say we will allow 60% of gross profits to go to marketing and advertising to grow the company, that's about the number that goes back to the agents in the form of revenue share. And so he's like, rather than running ads, what if Nestor's Life becomes our advertising engine? And so then the easiest way to think of revenue share is every agent that you sponsor into the company, if you look here under the tier one, the 5% number represents about a $4,000 per year revenue share payment, assuming that they're on the full cap plan and assuming that they fully cap out. Every agent that agent brings into the company, to you, the grand sponsor, for lack of a better term, represents a $3,200 per year maximum payout. The people, your great grandchildren are $2,400, your great great grandchildren are $1,600. You guys get the gist here, right? But it's not all or nothing. So it would be what's the right word? Disingenuous. If I just said, hey, for every person that you introduce to the company, you're going to bring in a $4,000 rev share check every year. That's not going to happen. But you will get a portion of that for each agent. Now, in the early stages, I'll tell you, if you've got a revenue share world of you've sponsored 5 agents into the company and they've sponsored 5 agents into the company, you're probably going to average somewhere around $2,000 to $2,500 per year per agent. So if you have 10 agents, 5 that you sponsored and 5 that they sponsored, you're probably going to generate around $25,000 a year in revenue share. So the issue isn't, well, Joe, you've got more people than that in your world. So why would you say that the agent that closes 10 deals receives a greater benefit of revenue share than the agent that closes, or than the agent that has a team that closes 600 deals a year? It's because the percentage of income that the effect those 10 agents have on the financial life of the agent closing 10 transactions is greater than if I bring 10 agents into the world and my team closes 600 transactions. It's not to say that the money isn't important to me or that those 10 people aren't incredibly important to me. But if we just talk about it from a standpoint of, if we say blended average, an agent's net commission income is 60% of their gross commission income, which I'm comfortable with that number. You guys can decide for yourself how comfortable you are. If we just say that it's 60% recapture, net income to gross income, then at 10 transactions and $100,000 in GCI, that agent's bringing home $60,000 a year. And they said to me, how could I double my income? I don't really foresee a way that somebody who's used to closing 10 transactions a year, that's their cadence, those are their friends and family, the leads they get, whatever it is. I don't think it's as simple as me just going like, oh, easy, just close 20 deals a year. Now, the mistake agents make is they're like, I need to go to a low cost business model, a low cost brokerage. And Nestor's shaking his head because he knows. They think I'm going to go somewhere cheaper because then I'm going to keep more of the 10. I will tell you, going cheaper will only cost you opportunity and income. I would encourage you to think of it differently. So cost only matters when value is not present. So think of it that way. Cost is truly an issue when you're not getting anything in exchange. So if you evaluate a company like Real only based on the cost to belong to it and not the reciprocal benefits of being there, you're missing the whole point. How else would I explain that? Well, Nestor and Michelle are good friends of mine. Imagine they go on a cruise and they text me. They're like, bro, we're so excited. We're going to the Caribbean. We've never been on a cruise before. And imagine that cruise for them was a great financial sacrifice. They barely, and they're killing it, so this isn't them, but they could barely afford to get on that cruise. So they get on that cruise ship, and Michelle says to Nestor, look at that restaurant. Like, I would love to eat there. And he's like, Michelle, remember, we barely got on this cruise to begin with. Like, we don't have the money to take advantage of all these fun things everybody's doing or all these great places everybody's eating because, like, we barely made it on the ship to begin with. So let's go back to our room and eat some ramen. Now you guys are going, Joe, this is the stupidest analogy I've ever heard of, because the benefit of going on a cruise is everything's included. And I hope you felt that way, because that is the exact same mentality of somebody going, well, I'm going to come over to Real and yeah, my costs are this, this, and this. Because if you're not taking advantage of the revenue share plan, if you're not taking advantage of the stock plan, you are missing out on the free meals and entertainment that everyone else is getting on the cruise ship. So if you're going to evaluate your relationship with Real, you have to evaluate it from a standpoint of not what is the cost, but what is the value. Value is cost plus benefit. So the benefit of belonging to a company like Real is, if you are a collaborative individual, there is no reason why every single human being at this company isn't sponsoring 4 or 5 individuals a year. That's every other month you meet somebody who is interested in finding another place to do business. Now, I haven't been very active in the chat, and a lot of you guys are watching this after the fact or listening to this on the podcast, so I can't read your response. So I'll just give you the answer. 30% of agents move brokerages every year. 30%. So if you know in your local marketplace, if you're like, I don't know, I could probably name 20 agents, on average, 6 of them every year choose a different brokerage to belong to. Now, if you're collaborative at all, and you go to the title company events and the trainings, you show up to a couple of Real producer luncheons, whatever, like if you are collaborative at all, I wouldn't say that you know more agents that are moving, you know more agents, period. So if you're the type of person who's just active in your local real estate market, if you're the type of person that when you do a deal with somebody, it's not a war, it's a collaboration, then you're the type of person who could have 5 or 6 individuals every single year come into this ecosystem. And because you are the individual that led them over, not a Google ad, not a gold jacket, not a hot air balloon, but you, the company is going to pay you up to $4,000 per agent. Now, here's the beautiful thing. It would be a great financial plan if Jane knew that just by virtue of her bringing someone to the company paid her $4,000 because that agent paid $12,000 to belong to the company that year in the form of a cap. But there's more to borrow, from the great Steve Jobs. It's not a one-time thing. It's every single year. So then here is my pitch, for lack of a better term. If you're closing 10 transactions a year, go get 5 or 10 agents over the next 24 months to come into this ecosystem with us. Because now all of a sudden, don't stop selling houses and become a recruiter. Don't be a maniac. Just be a collaborative human being that is comfortable saying to somebody like, hey, I'm not sure if this is for you, but who do you know that may benefit from being in this type of ecosystem where we're building and collaborating and growing and things like that? Keep in the back of your mind that 30% of every single real estate human being you know will move real estate companies every single year. And just be collaborative, be open, be excited, like be the mechanism by which your company grows. And now don't go close 30 transactions to go from 60,000 a year to 180,000 a year. Close your 10 transactions and figure out how to get 20 people, 20 of the thousands of agents in your marketplace, 20 of the 2 million agents in North America, get 20 of them who are already moving anyways to go, you know what? I'm going to give Nestor and his company a shot because it seems like they're doing some really cool stuff. Because 20 agents at $2,500 per year residual income represents $50,000 a year in revenue share. Now, there is some confusion because people are like, well, Joe, isn't that paid in the form of stock? No. Today so happens to be October 15th. The 15th of the month is a great day for agents who are building a revenue share based business because today we got a direct deposit in our account from Real for our revenue share. Now, we had our budget meeting this morning. What's our cost? What's our expense? How many deals do we have in escrow? What is our investment business looking like? And yes, what did our revenue share look like for the last month? So the reason I titled this 25-minute discussion that agents that do 5 to 15 transactions, why closing 5 to 15 deals a year, revenue share benefits you the most, is because for somebody that runs a really large team like myself, to replicate or double or even 50% of my team-based revenue, to replicate that in revenue share is a heavy, heavy lift. Like hundreds of agents. But if I'm a team member or a solo practitioner, and I sit down with my significant other and I say, we just, we did $80,000 in net commission last year. We killed it. Just so you know, the average real estate agent in America closes 3 transactions a year. So if you're doing 15 units, you're crushing it. You're 5 times the average. But again, at an average commission rate of $10,000, that's $150,000. And at a recapture of 62%, you're at about $100,000 in income. So if you go, hey, inflation's crazy, gas used to be $2 a gallon, it's now $5 a gallon, like I've got to make more money. Only you could answer the question whether or not you could do that and have a great financial effect on your life by going from 15 to 30 units. The argument I'm making is keep doing your 15 units. Be a collaborative human being. Be the type of person who's able to say, hey, Nestor, I'm not sure if this is for you, but who do you know that's looking for a new opportunity to create some income? Who do you know that wants to close more deals? Who do you know that wants to have access to Sharon Srivatsa, the greatest mind in real estate, in my opinion, and probably the greatest mouth in real estate? The guy can talk. Who do you know that wants to be a part of a business that makes money in multiple ways? Let me just tell you one quick story. Last night, I was on a phone call with my son and his girlfriend. And the conversation really centered around, she comes from a very traditional family that is education based, and I love it. Her dad is a school teacher. He's an amazing human being. And they're very much wanting her to pursue education. And she asked me what my thoughts were. And I said, listen, there's a great difference between being educated and getting a degree, number one. And number two, and this is confidential between us, right? I said, your parents probably look at the life I live and think, man, that's risky. As an entrepreneur, you're living a risky life. But let me just tell you, I feed my family in not even 4 different ways. If you factor every real estate transaction I get paid on and every investment deal we do and all of our agents in our revenue share world, like, I don't know, I get paid dollars, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times a month. So like if an agent calls me and they're like, hey man, we're out, we're leaving the team, we're leaving the brokerage, we're quitting the investment business, whatever it is, that's one pain point of hundreds of potential opportunities I have to feed my family. So then we are blessed to be in this ecosystem where we can run our real estate team, we can close transactions, we can build a revenue share world. And my last pitch to you, or my last plea to you, would be, if you find yourself in a world where the only way you are able to feed your family is if you open a door with a BBA agreement, or you take a listing and you get paid when that thing closes. If that's it for you, I promise you, there's so much more out there in the world for you. Like, revenue share is an answer. Don't give up everything you're already doing. Bring all the goodness you're already doing and just add this side hustle to your business, because that's the way you're able to go from 10 transactions and 60K to 10 transactions, 60K plus 10 agents and 30K. Now you're up to 90. and then we're building from there. Guys, I hope this helps. It's just one human being's opinion, but in my opinion, revenue share will benefit the agent that closes 10 transactions proportionally significantly more than a guy like me who has a million different things going. The effect that 10 agents has on your world versus what it would have on my world if you're closing those 10 transactions, it could be a life changer. And I'm here to help. So whether you're in my world or not at Real, use me, use my trainings, steal all my content, do whatever you have to do to try to build that world for yourself, because I'm here for it. And at the end of the day, I'm super excited and I'm super happy if I know that I've in some way impacted your world.